The global entertainment world was set ablaze in a matter of moments, as an unexpected appearance from Jimin sent shockwaves through fans, fashion critics, and industry insiders alike. What began as a seemingly ordinary update quickly transformed into a full-scale international phenomenon, proving once again that when it comes to influence, presence, and sheer star power, few figures command attention quite like him. It all unfolded with breathtaking speed. Within minutes of the first images surfacing online, social media platforms were flooded with reactions. Fans from every corner of the world expressed disbelief, excitement, and overwhelming admiration. The phrase "OMG, this just HAPPNED" wasn't just a headline, it became a global sentiment. Hashtags surged to the top of trending lists, and discussions ignited across multiple languages, cultures, and communities, all centered on one unforgettable moment. What made this particular appearance so impactful was not just the visual transformation itself, but the timing and execution. Known for his meticulous attention to detail and artistic sensibility, Jimin has consistently blurred the lines between music, performance, and fashion. Yet this time there was something different, something that felt bold, unexpected, and undeniably groundbreaking. It wasn't simply a new outfit or a change in styling, it was a statement. Observers were quick to note how every element of the look contributed to a cohesive narrative. From the silhouette to the textures, from the subtle contrasts to the striking focal points, the styling seemed to tell a story of evolution and reinvention. Industry experts began analyzing the details almost immediately, drawing connections to emerging trends while acknowledging that this moment might very well redefine them entirely. As reactions poured in, fashion commentators described the look as fearless, transformative, and ahead of its time. Some even suggested that it could mark the beginning of a new era in global fashion, one where boundaries are pushed further and individuality takes center stage. It is not the first time that Jimin has influenced style trends, but rarely has the impact been this immediate and widespread. Fans, often referred to as ARMY, played a crucial role in amplifying the moment. Their passion and dedication turned a single appearance into a worldwide conversation. Videos, edits, and reactions spread like wildfire, each one capturing the raw emotion that this moment inspired. For many, it wasn't just about fashion, it was about witnessing artistry in real time, about feeling connected to something bigger than themselves. Beyond the digital space, the ripple effects began to emerge in the fashion industry itself. Designers, stylists, and brands took notice, with some already hinting at inspiration drawn from the look. Conversations about future collaborations and potential trends began circulating, suggesting that this moment could have lasting implications far beyond its initial impact. What makes this phenomenon particularly fascinating is how it transcends traditional boundaries. It is not confined to a single demographic or region. Instead, it represents a convergence of cultures, tastes, and perspectives, all unified by a shared appreciation for creativity and expression. In many ways, it highlights the power of modern media and the speed at which influence can spread in today's interconnected world. At the center of it all remains Jimin, whose ability to captivate audiences continues to evolve. Over the years, he has built a reputation not only as a performer but as a trendsetter, someone who understands the language of style and uses it to communicate something deeper. This latest moment serves as a reminder of that unique ability, reinforcing his position as a cultural icon. As the excitement continues to build, questions naturally arise about what comes next. Will this look inspire a new wave of fashion trends? Will it influence upcoming collections or redefine industry standards? While the answers remain uncertain, one thing is clear. The impact is already being felt, and its effects are unlikely to fade anytime soon. For now, the world watches, reacts, and continues to be inspired. The moment may have been brief, but its significance is undeniable. In an era where attention is fleeting and trends come and go in an instant, creating a truly unforgettable impact is no small feat. Yet once again, Jimin has managed to do just that, and as the conversation shows no signs of slowing down, one thing becomes increasingly evident: this wasn't just a look. It was a moment, a movement, and perhaps even the beginning of something entirely new. The momentum did not slow, it intensified. As hours turned into a full day, the conversation surrounding Jimin's appearance only grew louder, expanding far beyond fan communities and into mainstream media, fashion publications, and global entertainment networks. What initially seemed like a viral moment began to solidify into something far more significant, a cultural shift unfolding in real time. Major fashion outlets quickly released breaking analyses, each attempting to decode the meaning behind the look. Some pointed to its bold departure from conventional styling, while others highlighted its seamless blend of elegance and edge. There was a growing consensus that this was not just a fashion statement, it was a declaration. A signal that the boundaries of modern style are no longer fixed, but fluid and constantly evolving. Behind the scenes, industry insiders began to share subtle hints of how influential this moment had already become. Stylists reportedly revisited mood boards, designers reconsidered upcoming collections, and creative directors took note of the overwhelming global reaction. In an industry where timing is everything, the sudden impact of Jimin's look introduced a new urgency, one that demanded attention, adaptation, and innovation. Meanwhile, fans continued to fuel the phenomenon with unmatched energy. Edits became more intricate, fan theories more detailed, and reactions more emotional. For many, this moment felt deeply personal. It wasn't just admiration for an artist, it was inspiration. The confidence, the boldness, and the authenticity reflected in the look resonated with individuals across different cultures and backgrounds, encouraging them to embrace their own sense of identity. What stood out most was how organically the moment evolved. There were no elaborate promotional campaigns, no carefully staged teasers leading up to the reveal. It was spontaneous, raw, and immediate. And perhaps that is what made it so powerful. In a digital age often dominated by calculated releases and strategic marketing, this moment felt real, and that authenticity amplified its impact. Cultural commentators began to explore the broader implications. Some suggested that this could mark a turning point in how global audiences perceive fashion icons. No longer confined to traditional runways or exclusive circles, influence now moves through digital platforms at unprecedented speed. And figures like Jimin are at the forefront of this transformation, bridging the gap between high fashion and everyday expression. There was also a deeper narrative emerging, one that went beyond aesthetics. The look was being interpreted as a symbol of artistic freedom, a reflection of personal growth, and a challenge to outdated norms. It sparked conversations about individuality, self-expression, and the courage to defy expectations. In this sense, the impact extended far beyond clothing or style. It became a statement about identity and evolution. As night fell in one part of the world, another region picked up the conversation, ensuring that the momentum never truly paused. The global nature of the reaction created a continuous cycle of engagement, with new perspectives, analyses, and interpretations emerging every hour. It was a rare phenomenon, one that demonstrated the true power of a connected world. Amid all the excitement, one question lingered: how does one moment carry such weight? The answer perhaps lies in consistency. Over the years, Jimin has built a legacy of excellence, creativity, and emotional connection. Each appearance, each performance, and each artistic choice has contributed to a foundation of trust and anticipation. So when a moment like this occurs, it doesn't exist in isolation, it builds upon everything that came before it. The result is something extraordinary. A single appearance becomes a global event. A fashion choice becomes a cultural conversation. And an artist becomes a symbol of change. As the world continues to react, adapt, and be inspired, it becomes increasingly clear that this is not the end of the story. If anything, it is only the beginning. Because when influence reaches this level, its effects ripple outward, shaping trends, inspiring creativity, and redefining what is possible. And somewhere at the center of it all stands Jimin, calm, composed, and perhaps already preparing for the next moment that will once again leave the world in awe. In the days that followed, the ripple effect transformed into a wave that refused to fade. What began as a single electrifying moment soon evolved into a defining chapter in modern pop culture. Everywhere, conversations continued to build, deepen, and expand, as if the world collectively realized it was witnessing something far greater than a passing trend. At the center of this global phenomenon remained Jimin, whose presence alone seemed to redefine the boundaries of influence. Fashion schools, online forums, and creative communities began dissecting the moment with remarkable intensity. Students analyzed the structure, the balance, and the storytelling behind the look, while emerging designers attempted to reinterpret its essence through their own lenses. It was no longer just about admiration, it had become a subject of study. A living example of how a single visual can communicate emotion, identity, and transformation all at once. At the same time, major brands quietly adjusted their strategies. While no official statements were immediately released, subtle shifts in campaigns, color palettes, and styling direction hinted at a larger impact unfolding behind closed doors. The influence was not forced or manufactured. It was organic, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. And in an industry driven by relevance, that kind of impact carries extraordinary weight. For fans, however, the experience remained deeply emotional. Beyond the headlines and analyses, there was a sense of pride, connection, and inspiration that could not be easily quantified. Many expressed how the moment encouraged them to step outside their comfort zones, to experiment with their own style, and to embrace individuality without fear of judgment. In that way, the impact extended beyond screens and stages. It reached into everyday lives. There was also a growing recognition of how seamlessly Jimin navigates the intersection of artistry and authenticity. Nothing about the moment felt forced. Every detail, every expression, and every movement appeared natural yet intentional. It is this balance that continues to set him apart, not just as a performer but as a cultural force capable of shaping narratives on a global scale. Media outlets began to revisit past moments, drawing connections between this latest appearance and earlier milestones. A pattern started to emerge, one defined by evolution, risk-taking, and a constant push toward reinvention. Each era seemed to build upon the last, creating a trajectory that felt both unpredictable and inevitable. And with each new chapter, the impact only grew stronger. Interestingly, the conversation also extended into broader discussions about the future of fashion itself. Could this moment signal a shift toward more expressive, boundary-breaking styles? Would it encourage a new generation to prioritize individuality over conformity? While definitive answers remained out of reach, the questions themselves highlighted the depth of the moment's influence. Across continents, cultural differences seemed to dissolve in the face of shared admiration. Fans from vastly different backgrounds found common ground in their reactions, creating a unified global response that felt rare and powerful. It was a reminder that creativity, when expressed authentically, has the ability to transcend language, geography, and tradition. As the narrative continued to unfold, one thing became increasingly clear. This was not a fleeting headline destined to disappear with the next news cycle. It had already embedded itself into the cultural timeline, marking a moment that would be referenced, studied, and remembered for years to come. And yet, perhaps the most compelling aspect of it all is the sense that this is only one moment in a much larger journey. If history has shown anything, it is that Jimin thrives on evolution. Just as the world begins to process one transformation, another may already be on the horizon, ready to challenge expectations once again. For now, the energy remains electric. The conversations continue, the inspiration spreads, and the world watches closely, fully aware that moments like this do not happen often, but when they do, they leave a mark that is impossible to erase. As the momentum carried into the following week, the impact began to take on a life of its own. What once felt like a powerful moment now resembled a full-scale movement, reshaping conversations not only in entertainment and fashion, but across culture at large. The name Jimin was no longer just trending, it had become a constant presence in global discourse, a symbol of transformation that refused to fade into the background. Television panels and digital talk shows dedicated entire segments to breaking down the phenomenon. Analysts debated whether this moment would stand as one of the most influential style shifts of the decade. Some compared it to historic turning points in fashion, where a single figure altered the direction of an entire industry. Others argued that what made this moment unique was its speed, how quickly it traveled, how instantly it resonated, and how deeply it connected with people worldwide. Meanwhile, photographers and visual artists began recreating the aesthetic in their own work. Editorial shoots inspired by the look started to appear across platforms, each offering a new interpretation while maintaining the essence that made the original so striking. It became clear that this was not imitation, it was inspiration. A spark had been ignited and creativity was spreading in every direction. At the same time, conversations around identity and self-expression grew louder. Many saw the moment as more than just a visual statement. They viewed it as an invitation. An invitation to challenge expectations, to redefine norms, and to embrace individuality without hesitation. For countless fans, this was not just about style, it was about courage. The courage to stand out, to be different, and to exist authentically in a world that often encourages conformity. Amid this growing movement, industry veterans began to acknowledge a shift they could no longer ignore. The traditional gatekeepers of fashion, runways, magazines, and elite circles were no longer the sole drivers of influence. Instead, moments like this demonstrated that true power now lies in connection, relatability, and the ability to resonate on a human level. And few figures exemplify that better than Jimin. There was also an undeniable emotional layer that continued to unfold. Fans shared personal stories about how this moment impacted them, how it inspired confidence, sparked creativity, or even helped them see themselves in a new light. These stories added depth to the narrative, transforming it from a global headline into a collection of individual experiences, each one meaningful in its own way. As more time passed, the question shifted from what just happened to what happens next. Speculation began to build around future appearances, potential collaborations, and the possibility of even more groundbreaking moments on the horizon. Expectations were rising, but so was excitement. The world wasn't just watching, it was waiting. Behind all of this, there remained a quiet sense of anticipation. Because if one thing has become clear, it is that moments like these do not exist in isolation. They are part of a larger story, one defined by evolution, creativity, and the constant push toward something new. And with Jimin at the center of it all, that story feels far from over. In many ways, this moment has already secured its place in cultural history. It has influenced conversations, inspired creativity, and connected people across the globe. But perhaps its greatest impact lies in what it represents, a reminder that true influence is not just about being seen but about being felt. And as the world continues to feel the effects, one thing becomes undeniable: this was never just about a look. It was about a shift, a movement, a moment that captured the attention of millions and refused to let go.